Meetings with the prayer reading or thought. Deneen Jackson will give us that, and then Bert Harvey will lead us in the pledge.
Vice versa.
Vice versa. Okay, Bert.
Father in heaven, we come before thee today as a body to request your presence as the commission deliberates the business and affairs of Utah County. We ask thee for thy spirit, that we'd always might be able to make decisions, do things in the best interest of the citizens of Utah County and the citizens of our nation. We're grateful, Father, for the freedoms we enjoy and for the people which we have to associate with. And so we always ask for thy wisdom in all the things that we do. And this we do in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bert.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll shift things around a little bit. We'll go into our work session with the USU extension first. Before we consider amending Utah County Code 7.04. So
Where'd it go?
okay.
My name's Tom Bettis. I'm county resident as well as an employee of USU Extension. I appreciate the time. Our cooperative agreement spells out that we present to the commission what our goals are for the year and what our accomplishments are. We would hopefully do that anyway, but this is a brief report on that. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on facts and figures. Michaela, if you'd pass that paperwork out, if she already is. We've got a lot of that in our paperwork. We've tried to keep that as brief as possible also. But just to point out a few things that we're doing new this year and maybe a few highlights of some accomplishments while we're here. So I just wanted to point out really quick that extension tries to fill roles that traditional government does not. And we are quite flexible and we work somewhat with the health department. We work with other government agencies, but also the general public and the green industry and agriculture, and trying to fill needs in those areas. And it's our primary goal to present research-based information so that people can make decisions economically, but also to know that something has been vetted before we give advice on something to do. So just quick information, we can show at least a 5-to-1 return, and that's very conservative on the funding we receive from the county on what we're doing in the county. And I was going to get into agriculture really quick. So we're doing a lot of different things with agriculture. Jake Hadfield is out of town right now, or else I'd have him present on some of this. But one thing that he wanted to point out was that they've begun working with cattle ranchers and using what's called fenceless management, to where the cows wear a collar similar to what you would use for a dog, that would keep it in a yard without fences. But these collars can be directed either by satellites or using GPS or cell towers, and you can keep them in a certain area or actually direct them to new watering holes or new forage areas so they don't overgraze. And this is just beginning, but he wanted to point out that that's something new that we're working on. And there's not just the ability to shift the cows without a lot of people involved, but just the potential for protecting the environment, protecting water sources and things of that nature, and being able to do it once those collars are on, potentially with less cost. He's been working on gopher control, which is always a concern, especially in alfalfa and fruit trees. But I wanted to, since I'm here today, and I haven't really presented on more the horticultural end of agriculture, point out a couple of projects before we turn the time over. So we have started in the Genola area doing research on seedless table grapes and some hybrid wine grapes that are cold hardy. And the reasons for this is we don't really have any local seedless table grape growers, although there are numerous varieties that do well here. The grapes in the store come from Mexico, Chile, California, depending on the time of year, and so they're all imported. But with the limited research we've done so far, we've been able to get $3.75 to $4 a pound at local gardeners markets and farm stands for local grapes. And they look different. They're not as big because the growers do a lot the professional growers do a lot to manipulate the size, but they're more flavorful, they're more nutritious because they're local. And there's a number of varieties that we've already researched that do well here, and so we're now getting them into actual growers. We've got 2 up and going. Well, they'll be up and growing in the next couple of weeks, and 2 more online that if things work out, we'll have 4 growers that are reaching different parts of the local market. So I'm not saying grapes will replace alfalfa. I don't want them to. But as far as water savings, they use anywhere from average around 50% less water per acre than alfalfa. And this is not accounting for infrastructure costs or labor, but at about $3.50 to $4 a pound, the sales on that acre of grapes would be about $20,000 per acre. So it's not going to be the next Silicon Slopes or anything, but it is, I think, an important aspect because anybody, if you are a small grower and you have a half acre of land, you could install some rows of grapes to supplement. You don't have to have a huge farm to do this, and we're researching methods and varieties and things of that nature. One other thing I'll point out, last year, the Utah Department of Ag and Food legalized hybrid Bermuda grass. And Bermuda grass can be very invasive, and that's why they had it on the restricted plant list. It's considered a noxious weed. The hybrid varieties are sterile, and they can only spread vegetatively through runners. And the advantage to these hybrid Bermuda grass varieties are that they can survive and stay green on about 50% of the water of a traditional lawn. And they require about half the fertilizer. And so we could see a reduction in hopefully contributing to algal blooms in Utah Lake and other local lakes, plus be able to save thousands and thousands of gallons of water. And so we've got a few plantings of hybrid Bermuda that we're monitoring to look at methods to get it established, how it's going to perform. BYU and USU have researched it in their test plots, but there's sometimes a difference going from the research field to the homeowner, and we're attempting to bridge that gap. So I'm going to turn the time over to others, and we'll be open for questions at the end, so thank you.
Okay, my name is Cindy Jenkins, and I am in the Home and Community Department. And I should be doing slides today for myself as well as for Gabby Mercer, who is in Salt Lake teaching a class this afternoon. So she's not here today. To just go over some things though, and again, we're just doing kind of a brief representation and highlights essentially of what we're doing. And this is a project, and I just also want to say thank you. We've had some involvement from Amelia Pars Gardner in the past on this project. And last year we had about $50,000 of this kind of in-kind donations from volunteer hours with over 200 participants. And there are things that are called protective factors that help prevent loneliness, that help make sure. The concern about loneliness is that it's kind of if you have people struggling with loneliness, it's kind of the intro symptom to things like anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation. And a few years ago, the Surgeon General for the United States put out a brief warning us about the harm that loneliness can have. And one of the things that he recommended doing is to help people feel connected in their community. And since we wanted to watch out for this, something that we did at our last event, we haven't been tracking this the whole time, which I am amending that, and I will be tracking it in the future. But from this event, where we had about 60 people attend and 27 people filled out the post survey, 97% of them agreed and said, this event helped me feel connected to my community. And these are events where we tell stories, women and girls gather, and it's very impactful for them to have these good community building events where they can feel connected. It helps prevent loneliness, and it helps guard against these other conditions that might be coming, right? And so for our 2025 goals, something that we want to continue doing is serving this population. Last year, we served about 200 participants. We want to really ramp that up and maybe serve about 300. And then to continue utilizing our community volunteers to bring in over 50,000 volunteers, dollars worth of volunteer hours. And we also hope that that in the long term, this is really saving our county money, right? That is a big deal where we can save healthcare costs, things like that, because people are not struggling with some of these big issues. They're not having to turn to their healthcare providers because they have a community that helps provide some of these resources that they already need. Okay, next highlight is for the Create Better Health program, and this is SNAP-Ed education, so it is USDA funded. We have a large grant from them. It's statewide, and SNAP-Ed, I'm sure as you're aware, it provides food dollars, so like your food bucks, right? So that way people can go to the grocery store and get food. And then the education part is what we do, where we don't do anything with helping people get food or providing that dollar amount for them, but we provide education. And since we do not provide food, something that we're doing right now that I think is really cool is we've partnered with some key partners like Community Action Food Bank, where they might be getting food, but sometimes people leave the food bank and they go home with a box of food, but they don't really know what to do with it. And so they go home and the food just kind of sits there, or some of it gets used and some of it is wasted. And what we can do is we partner with them is we go into the food banks and we provide recipes. So we have a bag of food that we bag and put a recipe in there, and we say, okay, this is what you can do with your food. Or something that we've also been doing, something called Nourish Ed, is we go and we partner with, right now I'm partnering with Community Action, the South Franklin Community Center. We go and we teach their families, and then we provide them with food that's donated from Community Action. And then they go home with the knowledge of how to use the food, how to eat healthy food. And they also feel connected to their community because they're here at the community center. So I really think it's a wonderful program. And then in addition to that, something that we're doing with Create Better Health, again, this is a statewide initiative, is our Level Up program. And what we do normally is I have educators who go out and teach maybe 1 to 2 classes per week. And a part of this Level Up program, we are leveling up. We're teaching 3 to 4, doing 3 to 4 different activities per week. So we're doubling our productivity. And so last year, maybe we served 418 participants. So as we get fully staffed and we go along, we're hoping to match that, double it, really ramp up our numbers so that way we're having a high community impact. And then for the long-term estimated healthcare savings, these are big ones because you're helping children's health, and then of course your long-term chronic disease prevention. So it could potentially be in the hundreds of thousands to the millions of dollars saved for Utah County.
Do you partner with Tabitha's Way as well, or just the food bank?
We do partner with Tabitha's Way, and so that was just a brief highlight, but we have taught classes there, and something that I to highlight is that in the past we've also taught classes in Spanish there, and in the future we also will be doing, we had kind of a a bump where we had some educators and then they left, and now we have new ambassadors. And so we're really excited to this year, because we were working with them last year, so we're excited this year to go and tour their new facilities since they have a new one, and then get teaching again. And in that way, we're also able to, like through Tabitha's Way and South Franklin, we're also able to serve about 30% of our programming is for the Hispanic populations. Yeah. Yes. Any other partner recommendations for me? Okay. Let's keep going. And okay, I guess I just have my slides today, so I will go ahead and turn this over to 4-H. Thank you for your time.
I get to talk about the really fun stuff. So I'm Heather Thompson. I'm a coordinator in Utah County. There's 3 of us. I focus mostly on the horse, small animals, and shooting sports. And this year, nationwide, 4-H has rolled out a new initiative called Beyond Ready. So we want youth to be beyond ready for anything. Ready now, ready anytime. This is really focusing on, in the next 10 years or so, the workforce is changing. These kids are going to be entering their different careers, and a lot of the careers that they're going to be in don't necessarily exist right now because of all the technology changes that we're having and everything. So we want them to feel more prepared and be more intentional with our programming in whatever way we can. And it's found that 4-Hers are 2 times more likely to have a goal of being a leader, 3 times more likely to participate in community service, and 2 times more likely to report living with intentionality and purpose, which I think is huge. So along with that, we've really tried to be more intentional with our programming. Some of the program achievements this year, I received excellence in agricultural literacy for Cowboy Camp, excellence in animal science for our horse science series. I was recognized by the American Quarter Horse as an emerging leader in 2025 and by the American Horse Council as the Horse Industry Professional of the Year. Cowboy Camp was showcased this March in Washington, D.C., and what a neat experience this was for the youth, because they got to not only get there and promote Utah's cowboys and agricultures, but they got to see all this history, which was really fascinating for them. And it was exciting for me to watch them through their eyes, get to see all these things that you've heard about historically and actually be there on the ground. That was a really neat experience, and we were able to teach more than 100 4-H youth from 37 states and 2 Canadian provinces. And in the post-evaluation, we found that 98% felt inspired to advocate for agriculture and help others understand its importance. And we received a highlight in the Daily Herald about our time in DC. It was just a really awesome experience. What's next for Cowboy Camp? After attending Washington, D.C., this is a Montana 4-Her who has already planned to replicate this programming in their own state. So Cowboy Camp will be replicated nationwide now. We will be heading down to Bryce Canyon this year for Cowboy Camp in just a couple short weeks. And this year is really unique. We're focusing on the full circle of agriculture. We're going to go fishing. We're going to go to a DWR fish hatchery and then see those fish being hatched out. And along with that, we're going to talk about the really hot topic issue right now, which is drought in Utah. So they'll get to see all parts of it, and they'll be more versed in these issues. They'll go away walk as agricultural advocates. And this is for youth who have a background in agriculture and for those who don't. We have it's about 50-50. And then I think a really unique thing about Cowboy Camp is that it's predominantly girls who attend, which is a cool take on women in ag, which is another hot topic right now about how women are driving agriculture, especially the equine industry. Cowboy Camp is this cool little spot where they all get to come, and we're so grateful. We have awesome supporters. This is a list of some of those who we're partnering with this year and we're sponsoring. And 4-H this last year has brought in about $19,000 in donations. So this helps pay for the camp fees for the kids, and every dollar that they bring into us is returned in such extreme ways with these youth and then going out and impacting their communities. One of the coolest things from those donations, though, is last week we were able to present $2,500 to these 4-Hers, and this went for an educational scholarship, but also for those who are still in high school and involved in 4-H. They get to use this money for their 4-H project this year. Whatever that means, whether it means feed or helping to buy their animal or the tack that they need for their horse, in any way they'll spend. So this money will then go back into our community. It'll probably go back to your tack stores and stuff like that. But it's also supporting agriculture and these youth and helping them really get a start.
Okay, thank you for your time, and we'll open up to any questions.
Further questions?
Doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, and I think with food getting more expensive and the economy still not turning around, that maybe your classes on helping people do home preserves will be fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for your time again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. Moving backwards, consider and discuss amending Utah County Code 7.04. Who's on that one?
I'm going to turn the time over to Chris Yanelli. He's my section chief over justice and juvenile and knows a little bit about that, more so than I do. So,
Okay.
Here to answer questions.
Okay.
Is this a farce? What's going on?
The only
You
thing
know,
smarter
attorneys
than
deal in evidence, and I'm looking at people I know back here, and I'm like, what are all these people doing
the
here?
only thing smarter than one attorney is an office of attorneys. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never known so much about it in my life. You know, it just, Paul sent it to me, I read it.
Okay, well, I'll take it over then. Chris Yanelli is too humble to think he's worthy of being nominated as Employee of the Month. But he most
I'm outta here.
definitely
Objection.
is more than worthy. Chris labors with great care for the youth in our community in the juvenile court system. He's an expert advocate for the best outcome in each case he's assigned and will often volunteer for cases that others would rather not take. He genuinely makes each individual feel important and valued. I think Chris is exceptional in his support of his team. He is a great supervisor. Even when someone has potentially been in the wrong, I have seen Chris take a very reasonable approach where he gives everyone the benefit of the doubt. Plus, he is hysterical. There is nothing like a team meeting led by Chris. What an absolute joy it is to nominate Chris for his extraordinary years of work as a deputy county attorney in the juvenile division of the Utah County Attorney's Office. Chris has mastered the art of holding young defendants accountable while simultaneously preserving their dignity and potential for positive transformation. He is an avid fisherman, kills it on the pickleball court, and when he's a little frustrated with his New York Jets, you can hear some of his Long Island accent come through. Chris has
I'm
earned,
frustrated.
in my humble opinion, Utah County's Employee of the Month recognition for his years of service to the County of Utah and their youth. So thank you, Chris.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Do I get to know who wrote that?
Several, Chelsea Harvey and Jessica Crowther, and somebody else without a name.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
department effort.
Yeah, we're going to come up there and we'll take a picture with you.
Jeff and Paul, you did a good job of pulling that off. Thank you. Thanks.
This way. Thank you.
I will add, Chris is awesome.
Okay.
He's been great.
Thanks. Okay. Thank you, everyone. He was on to you. All right. Now we will build our consent agenda. Are there any items of the 27? I believe, yeah, 27 consent item that anyone would like to hold?
I had none.
Number 10, I just want to say thank you to Commissioner Gordon. That's a big effort in helping get that road done. I know many people are looking forward to that. And then if we could hold number 20, please.
You betcha. Okay. And then regular agenda. Let's see here. I think we're okay on item 2 at this point. Was everyone able to?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got the update.
Okay.
I'm
So
good on that.
anything items 1 through 10? We'll start
7,
there.
please.
7.
Yeah, I've got no further.
None there. Okay. 11 through 20. Which technically we could go to the end because the really all the way to 32 are the
Yeah, they're
municipal
all just
elections.
the same.
Any
Questions, concerns, or anything we can know on that, Brian, for the municipal ones?
I'm sorry, it was so loud out here, we couldn't hear.
Just-
Or is it?
Any questions or concerns on any of the municipal?
Or is it, the municipal?
Yeah.
No, unless you have any. Yeah.
No, I didn't see any, so I'm good with all of them.
Fine.
We will charge the actual cost to each state.
Okay.
So no more, no less.
Sounds good. I'm good with those then. They can stay on consent.
okay. And as far as closed, we will strike 33, 34, and 35 and hold 36. Is that accurate?
think
Do you want to hold something else?
34 and 36.
Okay, excuse me. Holding, strike 33, hold 34, strike 35, hold 36.
Oh, sorry, 35 is.
Wow, we
Sorry.
fumble, Ruski.
Oh,
Let's back this
it's
up.
his birthday. He gets a
Oh, it
a
is your
break.
birthday. Happy
It is
birthday.
Happy
birthday,
birthday to
huh?
Ezra on the record forever.
Yeah. Forever on the record. Okay, so we are going to strike 33 and 34 and hold 35 and 36. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, for consent agenda, we're going to hold number 20. On regular agenda, we will hold number 7. And for our closed meetings, we will strike 34, 35, 33 and 34, and hold 35 and 36.
Bingo. Okay. Item 20 of consent.
Do we have any health? Oh, Eric, I see. So just quick question, Eric. In reading through the area plan narratives, there's some aggressive comments. Cities are not participating or not wanting to participate or not doing their work. So my question really is, what's the background there? Is there anything we can do to help? Kind of give me an update on that.
Okay, we have a strong group of prevention folks that help with our communities that care programs, and cities elect to participate in that. And I don't think Heather is here. Linnea, is this the same CTC pass-through grant?
It is.
So, okay, we definitely work with them at the city level, working with the mayor's office and with city groups to try to help them be successful in whatever. Why I really like this program is that it's the cities get to find what the needs are for their community, and then they utilize the funds, pass-through funds from the state plan to utilize how they want to. And so that's the good thing about it. But because it is pass-through funding, there is a reliance on the committee and the city, and in some cases volunteers, to be able to accomplish what they're trying to do. And so where we come in, our prevention specialists, is they're advocates, and they do all they can to help them accomplish their goals. Where they can't, sometimes they can do contract amendments and course correct and things like that as well. So I can assure you that the effort is being made to help the cities be successful and do whatever's done to help prevent the addiction in our communities through all youth protective factors and life skills and a lot of the community-based, family-based activities and things like that they're trying to do. Questions beyond that?
No, that's great. I mean, yeah, so we're doing what we can. If they don't
For
want
sure.
to do it robust, it's on them.
Yeah.
And some of it's
And-
through schools too, I think, right? Like, some of
can.
the schools have a committee, and so if the school has a teacher that wants to run a committee, they get the funds, and if the school doesn't have a teacher that wants to, they don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I believe it is a powerful way to spend our prevention dollars, letting the local communities dictate, because not every cookie cutter programs don't really work from community to community. It's nice that they can look at their own data, know what is ailing their own communities, and then go for the prevention efforts that will best suit them. And this program follows that model of prevention. So,
Great.
any other questions from you guys? Okay, thanks.
Eric.
I'll move to approve item 20.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, that passes. Item 7.
Ezra, more so, what is this? Is this a project pass-through? Is this a membership subscription?
This is the Provo.
This is extending the deadline of that agreement. The state gave us some funds for a project between Utah and Wasatch County.
It's the Provo Canyon one, right?
Yeah, the Provo Canyon one.
Right.
And so, the old
We're just
deadline's
extending the
extended,
deadline
yeah.
to have it done. No
Yeah.
financial. Okay,
Yep.
great, thank you. A motion to approve item 7.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Now is the time where we will accept public comment. We'll ask you to please keep your comments to under 3 minutes. And now's your opportunity if there's anyone. Oh, yeah, if you got it.
So Aaron Davidson, Utah County Clerk. There's going to be some changes to the school district, boundary changes, and we're asking you to do it through ratification. I know you don't like doing it through ratification, so I just wanted to stand and see if you had any questions on the boundary changes before you ratify it.
Yeah, where do we drop the ball there?
So in defining the boundaries for all the 21 different district, it was kind of done at the 3,000 foot level, then they did 10,000, and they were working off of a map of the population demographics, and it wasn't the actual file to use for the detail that we needed to do it at. So I just had a conversation with Mac, and that's kind of why I didn't get here till about 2:30. I was on a phone call with him for about a half hour. And we discussed all the different changes, and he just said that, we just kind of missed them a little bit because we couldn't have the granularity that we had now afterwards. We probably would have done it a little while ago, but we had the referendum to repeal HB 267. We were doing a lot of signature verification for 3 weeks, and we had our GIS people working on that before, but we had to pull all of them off in order to get that those packets done. So we picked it back up after we finished that, and these are the things that we identified. There is an additional change that Mac recommended, so we'll probably get that in again, another separate email to you to ratify that, because we kind of agreed with him after he presented an additional modification. It's the one where we moved the boundary line between Orem Street and State Street. He said to go down a whole nother section from I can't remember what it was, 400 to 800. He said to move that also into District 4 out of District 6 would make a lot more sense. So, if you have any other questions,
So you'll make that one additional change. So we don't reply to the email we currently have.
Yeah, let us make that change and then reply to the subsequent one.
And that doesn't change the balance of the population too much. It's still within the margin.
It's still within the margins. Yeah.
Okay. And then just to clarify, that didn't actually change the school district, the new school district boundaries, just the board seats within the boundaries, right?
Just the board seat. And he actually said, after looking at it, it makes a lot more sense because that one little section is in a different high school boundary if it were left in 6 than if it were moved into 4.
Okay.
So that would include everybody going to the same high school district if moving it from 6 to 4.
Okay.
And then he also said that there was a discrepancy in the boundary between Orem and Linden. The GIS that they were using, the different layers, there was a discrepancy as to whether the city boundary was on the street or behind the houses. And we drilled down to the state level, or what the state believes it is. And then we looked at Utah County parcel maps, and it also showed it behind the house, which is where we had it, but there was one of the layers that had it on the street. So that layer needs to be fixed, but it didn't affect where the boundaries were actually drawn in the first place. So it was just more of a clarification.
And then I noticed one other thing that in the South District, we are still working with Alpine and Provo school districts to move that line. It's not going to be moved before the filing. So if your office can just keep an eye, if somebody who lives in that area that's going to change happens to file, we should let them know that before. But I did confirm that the move will happen before the election occurs. So hopefully nobody who lives in that space files for office. If they do, we should probably let them know that they won't be eligible by the time the election comes.
Yeah, that's true. So we talked about that with Mac also.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of one of the check marks we're going to be watching for.
Perfect.
And hopefully nobody in that small sliver
Yeah.
files, because it's mainly just a high school.
Yeah.
So, okay, anything else?
No, thanks, Aaron. If we have
Okay.
more, we'll get with you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into closed session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.